Welcome back to The Basement, the show that has no name, that I just try to squeeze as best I can. It's kind of hilarious. Before I get into any questions, just part of this routine has been bananas. I can't tell you how many things I had to do on the weekend list this weekend, and I'm always like, there's no way I'm going to get all this shit done, but that's when you just start doing stuff and you see how far you get, and what do you know, it's Sunday at 6:45. I still got other things to knock out, but this is the life, I guess, if you want to try to put yourself out there and see what happens. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and start answering your questions. I was asked, how did I like Raleigh? I was in Raleigh, North Carolina 3 weeks ago. Raleigh's amazing. I've been to Raleigh a bunch. Raleigh has a very special place in my heart for a multitude of reasons. One of the biggest work projects I've ever worked on basically started in Raleigh because that was the first market we launched for this tool. And I don't think a lot of people know this. I know not a lot of people know this. If you're a small business, you can buy TV advertising online the same way that you buy Google ads or search or Facebook ads. My company has a product that allows you to go on and buy a TV schedule. It's super affordable, almost the same as social media. And we launched it in Raleigh a few years ago. Spent a ton of time there. I like to get an Airbnb when I can. It's my preference when I'm on the road, but the company is still a little gray about that. And I will hopefully insert a clip here of me on a farm just outside of Raleigh, because the guy who was the first ever client of that project was a milk farmer named Randy Lewis, and he's an amazing human being, and he and I became legitimate friends through the process, so I'm a fan of Raleigh. Vincent asked, in regards to 17 years with Kelly Jane, what is the secret to so many years together? I keep coming back to the word encouragement, because it's not like about, like rah-rah rooting for each other every day. It's about being okay with the other person wanting to do their own things. So encouraging her to, if you want to train for a marathon, that's going to be a shitload of time, but tell me what you need to be able to do what you want to do. If that's going out with friends, if that's spending time watching crap TV, if that's running a marathon, if it's spending time working, if it's spending time in the basement when she's upstairs folding laundry right now, and I'm like, hey babe, can I knock out this YouTube set of questions? Like, to me, it's encouragement, because once you start to get into a mode of we do these things because they feel like they are things that we need to do together, then I think things can erode quickly, or they cannot be as good as they could be if both people are truly just rooting for, encouraging, allowing for the time, allowing for whatever is needed for that other person to try to be the best version of themselves or be as happy as they want based off of the shit that they want to do. So the word encouragement is what I always come back to. Let's see, came for vines but stayed. May I ask, why do you cover your phone screen that is recording time lapses? So it's not distracting, basically. Like, I have people coming in and out of my office all day long. They know it's there, but when it's covered, it's just slightly less distracting. I believe in incremental anything, and if I can make it slightly less distracting overall, I don't want to be a distraction at work whatsoever. In fact, I cringe when TikTok gets brought up at work. But I don't want to stop doing it. And running the time lapse next to me all day is a super easy way to capture content, and I don't have to think about it. So I cover it so that it's less of a distraction. Any advice on handling a situation with a difficult manager? Tons. It depends on what type of slice you've got for a difficult manager. There's absent managers, there's managers that have no idea what it takes for you to do your job, there's managers that get angry, there's managers that quote-unquote micromanage, which I don't really believe in, but that's a whole nother conversation. Start by listing out what is difficult. How are you defining difficult in this situation? Is it anger? Like I when I was dealing with a difficult manager, I got really, really specific about what was bothering me the most, what it was doing that impacted my work and the business, and then I could be crystal clear in conversations I was having with anybody else about what the problem is. If you can clearly define the problem down to a sentence or two, that would help tremendously. For me, the specific reason why I said my manager was difficult was because we were spending more time focusing on things that might make this person angry than focusing on things that were in the best interest of the business. And that's a big problem, right? So I think first and foremost, you got to define why you say this person is difficult. How do I like the 600 milligram caffeine first thing in the morning? It works for me. Definitely do not recommend a lot of what I do to anybody out there other than work hard, be nice, have fun. But yes, I have 600 milligrams of caffeine every morning at about 4:10. It's the first thing I drink. It's the only caffeine that I have. It doesn't hit me in a big jittery way. I've been drinking pre-workout for a long time, so I'm kind of used to that as my caffeine vessel. Coffee gives me heartburn, so in addition to liking to kind of get it over with, so to speak, I would rather just take my medicine, which for me is, everybody, like so many of Americans are addicted to caffeine. Everybody just has a different vessel for it. Everybody has a different amount. Some people have 600 milligrams of caffeine, but spread out throughout the course of a day. Some people have 50 milligrams of caffeine and they start getting jittery. For me, 600 milligrams first thing in the morning works. I would not recommend it. I would not tell anybody to go do that. Let me be super, super clear about that. I would not recommend for anybody to do that, but it works for me. All right, what's your secret to a great marriage? All right, so I talked about the encouragement before. I made a TikTok a long time ago where I said the secret recipe for a good relationship was rice. And I defined rice as real inspiration and cyclical encouragement. So if you're truly getting inspired by the other person, if they're doing things you're like, wow, that is, even if they're little things, right? Like the fact that Kelly's cool with being upstairs right now to let me do this, that's inspiring because she believes in me. So that inspires me to do the best job that I can for whatever I have the time or the opportunity to do. It's truly about patience, which sounds cliche, but how I would specifically define that is the ability to have a difficult conversation and to, even if you don't say it out loud because you don't want to go to quote unquote business mode in those moments, but like, how do you get more out of the person to truly try to get to the core of what might be bothering them? I love the phrase, tell me more about that. I would not use that with my wife because she knows that that's like something specific that I use in the office. It's understanding that however the other person is feeling, you need to know as much about that in as specific amount of detail as possible so that you can either stop doing something you're doing that is annoying, do more of something that you're not doing. I think a huge part of it also is acknowledging where you are wrong quickly, like immediately. Like, it is not worth keeping it on the table that, yeah, you fucked something up and you're just gonna pretend like you didn't do it. I don't care if it's me getting home 5 minutes later than I was supposed to at 6:30 in the morning and I was like, oh shit, I literally thought you said 6:35. Doesn't matter, I got it wrong. So like, there's just no need. Like, it's not going to be helpful. Standing your ground in very few cases is actually going to be helpful. If you can't deal with those types of things and push forward in a positive way, I think there's larger issues there. But if you are truly adhering to the rice, real inspiration, cyclical encouragement, then sky's the limit. How do you handle the frustration of someone not doing this as your leader? Appreciating the effort behind the ask. Frustration doesn't do you any good. So first you got to start there. Acknowledge that you are frustrated about it, but then you have to immediately go into, all right, what am I going to do about it? I think that you again need to get specific about what do they not understand and how do you start to educate that person. You have to run to the front of the line to be able to control the conversation sometimes. And sometimes that means if somebody's not appreciating the effort behind the ask, you need to try your best to explain things to them. Example that I dealt with was building a new software technology for the company. I'm not a software developer. My boss is not a software developer at the time, but we were kind of thrown into the mix to help figure this project out. I found my boss to be very unruly when it came to appreciating the effort behind the ask. So I taught myself Scrum management. I taught myself what the iterative process is relative to developing software. And then I would try to teach him this so that if he said, well, hey, I really think that the product team should be prioritizing X, Y, and Z, I would say, I understand why you would want to push in that direction. Based off of the Scrum management system and the amount of points that we have for the next couple of sprints, like here's how you can structure it. I will help get you there. So I think that's the answer. If you have a boss that is not adhering to appreciate the effort behind the ask, clarify where they're trying to go, and then tell them, I will help get you there, but I'll help get you there in a way that is going to be better for everybody because it will be within the resources and my capabilities. I'll manage your expectations better, and then we can find gaps. If that's not suitable for you, let's talk about things that we need, resources that we need to then help get you there. So you kind of have to be the bigger person a little bit because you just have to go in calm, clarify where they're trying to go, and then help identify why there might be specific things that just aren't there and that their expectations are unrealistic. and hopefully that you can at least start to turn the conversation around a little bit. What keeps you grounded during a high-stress day? Or better, what keeps you mindful on those same stressful days? Front page, I'll give a super blunt answer, front page of the paper. You and I, to the person that asked me this question, you and I are 2 of 7.7 billion on the planet. Stress is not work in the corporate environment for a vast majority of us. Stress is running from a bomb. Stress is being a child migrant left unto yourself in some sort of encampment when you're trying to cross the border after your parents left you there. Stress is dealing with large-scale political situations. Stress is dealing with climate change. Stress is being a nurse. I could list a shitload of things that I think are way more stressful than things that I would have to deal with. If you can look at the cover of, even if you just Google New York Times every morning, and you took a look at the crazy shit that happens across this world every day, like think of my brain can go to some of the most fucked up situations that I know are happening anywhere on the globe in any given moment, because that keeps me grounded about how lucky and fortunate I am. I don't look at other people and say, why don't you think this way? This is just the way that I think, and this is the way that my brain works. I try to then help guide people, especially on my team, that things are going to be okay. So if for the person that asked this question, if you have a big job that has a shitload of stress, for me, I get up in the morning and when I go for a walk, at that pre-dawn walk, and I see people picking cans out of garbage cans, I don't have to do that for a living. I'm going to be okay that day. Doesn't matter what the hell gets thrown at me. Just started managing someone for the first time in my career. Any insights on how to bring out the best in both of us? A, you're going to be awesome because you asked the question. So you're going to be awesome. Be human. Teach yourself a little bit about radical candor. Start to go into a mindset of you don't have to solve all the problems. You should ask this person for recommendations so that they feel empowered, but also don't be afraid to do some of the legwork. Just because you are the quote unquote boss doesn't mean that there's any work that is below you. You don't want to get sucked into the weeds on things. I mean, it depends on the situation that you have, but you can kind of set the tone. You can guide. The person should always feel comfortable bringing you recommendations and they should always feel empowered. But if you can find kind of like mutual appreciation for what each person brings to the table and you're on the same page with what your goals are, start to map out how you get there together. And it's like you're kind of the guide on a tour, especially if there's just two of you. Think about it that way. It's like you're the guide on a tour. It's like, cool, do you believe in where we're going? Great, we're on the same page. Here's the path that I think that we need to get there. Do you buy into this? Do we each understand our roles and how we're going to get there together? Always come to me if you need anything. Truly, if you need anything. Right? Like if you can develop that type of rapport, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that really helps to at least kind of set the table for how you get out of the gate. And the last question, do you ever feel claustrophobic in New York City? I'm trying to think of a real answer. I don't think so. I love this place. I absolutely love this place. It's crazy. There's some dirt to it. There's some grime. There's some crime, but it's amazing. It is so beautiful to be able to see how insane it is for all walks of life to be sharing such a small space. And it can be heartbreaking and it can be just the most inspirational thing on a day in and day out basis. I love New York City. I could write an entire book about why I love New York City and why I think it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, that there's something that you would appreciate here. I know that it's not for everybody living wise, but no, I never feel claustrophobic here. This is my home, and I don't know that it's going to be my home for the rest of my life because you never know, but I love it here. And I love you guys. I love these questions. I love doing this. I really do. Thank you. And whatever else.